Good morning, everyone. Good evening, wherever you are in the world. Wonderful to have you here today. And I see Patricia King is with me live. Give me a like and a love. And anybody else who joins us today, please let me know that you're here because I can't always see who is joining us. Let me know where you're joining in from. And it's really good to have you here today, guys. And yes, important topic today I thought we would cover, seeing as it is everywhere out there, and we're going to be looking at Ozempic, the new wonder drug that is hitting the market. And while it can be a bit of a savior for a few people, there are some risks and there are some long-term effects that we need to consider as well. So I thought I would come in and talk about that today. Just firstly, to anybody who is new to me, to the group, because we have a lot of people in here. And if you're just new to following me, my name is Karen Sawyer. I am the Plant Power Coach. I am a certified health coach and life coach. I'm also certified in whole food plant-based nutrition. So I am the founder and creator of the Plant Power Transformation Program, which is my signature weight loss coaching program. And I'm also the owner of this group, Plant-Based Weight Loss Support. So welcome if you are new around here. I am someone who is on a mission to help people adopt and thrive on a whole food or on a plant-based diet, which includes helping people achieve their health and their weight loss goals. I see this as humanity needs this. We need this not just for our own health, the health of our body, the health of our people. We need it for the environment. Our planet is dying. We all know the impacts of agriculture on our planet, and we need to find much better ways of doing it. It's also much more kind and compassionate way of treating the fellow beings on our planet. I am vegan at the heart of it as well. So if you are new to me, welcome. And let's dive into today's topic. So as I said, we're going to be talking about Ozempic, the weight loss industries, or the pharmaceutical industry's new wonder drug. You might see it all over the place at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised in the US if it's all over TV. I'm pretty sure I did see it on TV when I was over there just recently. It's all over social media too. We've got all sorts of influencers showing the results that they've had from it. And I don't know about you, but I've certainly known people who have taken it or considered taking it as well. And that might be yourself as well. No judgment if you either have taken it or if you're considering it. This is not a judgmental space here. So I just wanted to bring you a mix of my thoughts from my experience working with people, as well as feedback from some of the experts in the weight loss space as they have talked about this as well. Now, essentially, Ozempic, or the original, Ozempic's the brand. I can't quite recall what the actual drug itself is called, but let's just call it Ozempic for the purposes of this video. So it's a pharmaceutical drug that essentially was designed to help people with type 2 diabetes, help them lower their blood glucose levels, help them lose that weight so that they can better control their blood glucose levels. But there's a lot of people talking about it, especially people who aren't even diabetic. And why is that? Like, we've got many people on social media claiming that it's been their magic bullet for losing weight, and a lot of people have lost large amounts of weight, and they're also talking about how they've been able to lose this weight without actually needing to change their lifestyle. That to me is just a little bit of a warning to there, right there. But these sorts of results, and people talking about it in this way, like I didn't even have to change anything, I lost all this weight, that can be really attractive for people, anybody who currently feels stuck in their own weight loss journey. It can be that like sucking message in that just draws you in and has you wanting to take note. And um, and it's because everybody's talking about this, and it's not just people experiencing results, but like I said, it's other weight loss experts as well who I follow, who've all come out and given their thoughts and their piece and about this drug, and particularly people like Cyrus Kambata from Mastering Diabetes. He did a podcast on this recently, and he also not just gave his own thoughts and his own experience, but he dove into the research too. And so I wanted to bring you a mix of my thoughts as well as some of what Cyrus Kambata from Mastering Diabetes was talking about in terms of the scientific studies that have actually been done on this drug. So let's start by looking at human nature. Human beings, we love, if we look at our our motivational triad to start with. So our motivational triad is the three things that motivate us to take action in our life. We are motivated firstly to avoid pain. We're secondly motivated to seek pleasure, and third, to conserve energy. So if you think about how this applies in this situation, if somebody is struggling with weight at the moment, that is pain, and somebody is searching for a solution to avoid this pain, to get out of this pain, and to step into a place of pleasure, which would be the result of weight loss. A drug like Ozempic comes along and says, I can help you do both while conserving energy. So boom, you've got your motivational triad being met at all three levels there. So we as human beings, naturally, we like fast results. We want something to be fast and easy, and we want it to be enjoyable. We don't want to have to put in too much hard work to achieve success. So with this drug, yes, it's fast and it's easy, and people don't actually have to change much at all. They don't have to do the hard work. But the thing is, fast and easy and not doing the hard work, it's a very short-term focus. And the problem with being very short-term focused only is that it can actually lead us in the wrong direction further down the line. Just like food, if you think about fast and easy food that taps into our pleasure centers and makes us want it now, often that food will hurt us in the long run. So this is why I wanted to do a bit of a review on this and bring you what I've learned so that you can make a more empowered decision for yourself. So I just want to reiterate that I'm not the scientific expert on this, okay? So when it comes to the science and how this drug actually works, I have relied on what I've learned from the scientific experts in the people that I trust in the whole food plant-based space who have reviewed this product. So if there's anything that I say that might be slightly wrong, I do apologize, but let me know. I've reviewed this, and I'm picking up the messages that I have heard from the people that I follow and I've listened to. Okay, so what I'm going to bring you today is how the drug actually works, how it works to help you lose weight, what are the side effects that have been recorded, and these side effects are on the drug's website. What are the risks associated, and what are some of the results of the studies that have already been conducted? And then I guess we've got to answer that big question. Is it right for you? Is it something that you should consider? What also might be missing from this picture? And is there any situation where it might be recommended for weight loss? Okay, so let's start with how it works. And so how it works is it mimics a particular protein or peptide that we make in our own intestine. And what it does is it responds to food intake. So it communicates dually to your intestines and to your brain at the same time. So it does two things with this communication. Um, One, when it's communicating to your intestine, what it does is it's helping to activate your stretch receptors in your gut. So essentially, it distends your gut so that your stretch receptors are then activated. And by activating those stretch receptors, it gives you that feeling of being full. All right. So when that happens, when you those stretch receptors are activated, it sends then a signal to your brain, which tells your brain to, you've had enough food. You can stop down or slow eating. And the second thing it does is it actually slows that movement of food through your digestive system, because obviously if this drug is making you feel full and you haven't actually got a whole heap of food in there, there's not going to be a lot of food going through your digestive tract. So what this does is it slows the movement of that food going through your gut. So it makes you feel all the time fuller for longer, right? Um, so, essentially that's also sending the message to the brain, hey, we've still got food in here. We don't need any more yet. There's still food in here. So it's very slow moving through. So this whole process helps you to feel satisfied sooner and stop eating sooner. And it helps you to feel satisfied for longer, which prevents you eating again too soon. And that overall essentially helps you to eat less calories. And by eating less calories, it helps to get you into a calorie deficit. And when it comes to losing body fat, being in a calorie deficit is what you need to achieve in order for your body to then be able to release body fat to use for fuel. I hope that makes sense to you. Now, if we think about what most weight loss programs do, it's all about trying to get you into a calorie deficit in order for you to lose your weight. But what most programs are actually doing is kind of forcing you to reduce your food intake in some way. Either you are significantly reducing your portion size, or you're doing something like counting calories or points or servings in order for you to achieve that calorie deficit. And while this approach, yes, it can work in the short term, these sorts of approaches can actually, in the longer term, increase your desire to eat more food, because you're never really feeling satisfied. And when you don't feel satisfied as you're eating, your body is always trying to survive. So it's going to ramp up your hunger signals later on and motivate you to eat. Right? So if you're trying to starve yourself over here, trying to eat less, trying to not feel satisfied, trying to just count calories and stick to portion sizes and things like that, your body is going to recognize, hey, we're not getting enough fuel here for the energy that we need for the energy output. We need to motivate this person to eat more. We're not getting enough down here. And so it later leads you to overeating, which is why that is a short-term approach and doesn't necessarily work long-term. But Ozempic's working in both ways here. It's getting you to eat less, and it's helping you feel satisfied, which is why it's so popular. You don't feel like you're starving, and then your body also isn't ramping up more hunger signals to motivate you to eat more later. So you feel less hungry. So you eat, so you're not eating as much, and it helps you, emotionally feel less of a desire to eat. And then, of course, if you're losing weight at the same time, it makes you feel good about what you're doing. You feel motivated to keep going, and you feel great. This is working. I feel so successful, and it helps you to stay motivated long term. Right. So that's essentially how it works. If you've got any questions on that, I've just given it to you in a very brief format. I don't want to go into any of the scientific data, because that can be very difficult to understand, and so I wanted to bring it to you in very lay terms. But that's kind of how it works. But let's look at some of the research that has been done, and there's been research that's been done on non-diabetics. I'm going to talk to these studies first. There's been many trials that have been done over the years, apparently. So These are called the STEP trials. And the step 1 trial, we'll talk to that one first. The first one was tested in 1,960 non-diabetic patients. And it was published in the New England Journal of Medicine in March of 21. So here is where they investigated people who were non-diabetic but obese. So they had a BMI of 30 or above. And then they also had people who were technically overweight, not necessarily obese, with a BMI of over 27, but who had at least one or more weight-related comorbidity. They tested the effect of the drug by taking a once-a-week injection versus a placebo group of people who, a group of people who were just given a placebo. And the results were staggering. They tested them over 68 weeks. The results were staggering. So the people who were taking the drug lost 14.9% on average of their original body weight, which is significant. Like if you're losing that much size when you have technically been obese or overweight and struggling with your weight, that is going to give you a sense of hope. Versus the placebo group, who only lost about 2.9% of their original body weight over the 68 weeks. So very, very promising, obviously. And that led to, obviously, more trials to then determine the safety in promoting weight loss with this drug. So, at 15%, it's huge. It looks very, very tempting and very compelling, right? But I want to just breathe here for a moment, because every time somebody talks about a way to lose weight, I always say, yeah, but let's just consider this. There are ways we can lose weight. There are ways that we can do this that are unhealthy, and there are ways that we can do this that are healthy. I mean, if you look at the keto diet, most of us in this group will understand just how unhealthy that is, but it delivers big weight loss very, very quickly, right? That's why it's so attractive to people. And let's just look at a few other drugs that can also produce very, very quick, rapid results for people. Things like meth, cocaine, heroin, MDMA, right? I might have a little bit of a joke about this, but in all seriousness, there are many things out there that you can do to lower your weight really, really quickly that are not necessarily healthy for you. All right, I'm always pointing this out to people, particularly people I know who might be on the keto diet. I'm saying, yeah, but a meth habit's going to give you the same result. One's just as healthy as the other. So just because we get fast results and it helps you to lose weight, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily healthy or it's safe. And especially if it's come out of the pharmaceutical world, we really need to watch this carefully. It's so new too. So we've got to consider the side effects as well, and the risks of using any sort of drug to lose weight, both in the short term and the long term. And if any of you saw my post that I put up last night about some of the fat burner pills that I used to try and take 20 odd years ago, oh my goodness, there was definitely something not right about those. As soon as I tried to take those, because I was in such desperate pain to try and lose weight, my face would just end up in this horrible cystic acne. Like I was trying to hide as much as I was trying to hide enough from just not feeling good in my body as it was, and now my face was like blowing up like a volcano. So these drugs are not necessarily, we're putting poisons potentially into our system. And the thing is, most of us, if we're in pain, wanting to lose weight and wanting a solution that's going to help us get off the mark, most of us are not actually looking at the long term or the side effects, because we're in pain right now. and we want to escape that pain as fast as possible. So again, we're taking that short-term focus, and I know that's how I was back then. I was very short-term focused. I was wanting something that was just going to help me get off that mark because I was in so much pain emotionally. But this needs to be considered in order for you to make the right decision for yourself. Right, so let's look at some of the side effects. There is a large and common list of side effects on their website. So first of all, there are things like gastrointestinal issues, constipation, nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pain. And there are also high risks for people with thyroid cancer. It increases the risk for thyroid cancer in some people. It increases risk for, there's not enough, there are risks for pregnant women. There's just not enough data to know whether it's safe for anybody who's pregnant to be taking this. And then anybody who has existing issues with gallbladder disease, pancreatitis, gastroparesis, there are problems associated with those diseases, and it also increases your risk for those diseases. But probably the biggest issue is that when you actually stop taking this drug, you're actually likely to gain back all of the weight that you lost. So even if you decide that the effects are not a problem for you and you want to take it anyway, that's totally fine. But just consider that the short-term focus isn't necessarily solving your problem for the long term, right? It's not solving the real heart of the issue as to why you gained weight in the first place. So this drug doesn't help you change your daily habits. It doesn't help you learn how to eat, how to nourish your body to create weight loss. It doesn't help you change your lifestyle in a way that helps you stay at your goal weight when you get there. It doesn't help you shift your relationship with food. And so what I mean by this is that, it's not helping you shift how you use food in your life. So whether that's things like emotional eating, so soothing your emotions with food, or calming your nervous system when you're anxious or upset or frustrated or bored, whatever it is. If you're using food to hide an emotion, this drug's not necessarily going to deal with that habit, because it's a habit. It's just a habit that's ingrained in your brain. You might not feel as able to do this while you're on the drug because you feel too full, but it doesn't mean the habit's gone away. So that's likely to return once you're off the drug. If you've been using food in a way to connect to people or to avoid disconnecting with people, then what it doesn't teach you is how to build connection with people that is outside of food. So, if you're off the drug, then you probably just go straight back to that habit. Or you're still using food as a way to connect while you're taking it, but you're just eating smaller portions in the meantime. Also, I've spoken to a few people who are kind of terrified of food, like they just don't know what to eat anymore. So if that's you, like if you're just so confused about what to eat, and you have diet trauma from years of trying to lose this weight, then this drug's not going to help you heal that relationship with food and have a conscious relationship with food, like being able to have the occasional treat and not dive into it completely, or knowing how to eat in order to create health and weight loss in your body. This drug doesn't teach you that either. Also, I find with a lot of people who struggle with their weight, there's often an internal relationship that is driving the external behavior. So the drug is not going to help you shift how you see yourself, the relationship that you have with yourself. If you if you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't speak to yourself very nice now, you say terrible things to yourself, or you pick apart your body, you criticize yourself, that is not necessarily going to change just because you're living in a smaller body, right? You'll just be saying the same things to yourself in a smaller body. So taking the drug doesn't change your personality. It doesn't change how you're showing up for yourself. It doesn't change how you treat yourself. That work needs to be done internally as well. And I've also noticed like a huge trend with people who've lost weight very fast in some very restrictive and sort of diet tactic way. It's almost like their identity doesn't keep up with the change in their body. They may be living in a smaller body, but they still see themselves with what I call fat eyes. I don't really like using that term, but I guess you know what I mean. So they're still picking themselves apart. They're just in a smaller body, but now they're picking apart different things about themselves. Because again, it's that self-relationship, and their identity hasn't caught up with the fact, with the actual weight loss. And then they turn back to the one thing that took their brain away from the self-beat up and the self-loathing, and it's usually that buffering activity of food or alcohol or whatever it was that led to the weight gain in the first place. So you need to work on the mental drama in the head as well, that leads you to making the poor choices or the choices that you've made in life. This drug's not going to help you with that. And essentially, basically, the drug doesn't teach you how to master the skill of living in a smaller body. So what happens when you get to the goal weight, even if you are doing it, you're then probably terrified of putting it all back on, because one, that's what the science shows. But two, you haven't mastered that skill of how to eat, how to be, how to think about things, how to handle social situations at this new weight. Right? So another way to think about that is like likening this to the example of people who might have won the lottery but had lived most of their life either just probably in poverty. Let's just say in poverty. So they've been poor most of their life, and they suddenly come across millions of dollars in the lottery, and then a few years later they're gone. It's gone. All the money's gone. They're back to being poor again. It's been shown, and a lot of money coaches talk about this. It's been shown that they never learned the skill of having money. They didn't learn the skill of learning how to build up their wealth in order to have that money. It was a sudden thing that they got, and they just didn't know how to cope with it. So what have they done? They've gotten rid of it all. They might have bought a whole heap of things, given it a lot of it away, to come back to that space of being poor again, because it's what they know. All right, so your identity needs to shift as you're going down the scale, just as somebody, who is getting wealthier, it's better for them to build their wealth up slowly rather than suddenly come across it all, because they may not have the skill of being able to handle the money. All right, I hope that makes sense to you. I usually like to use metaphors to explain things. So I do see this a lot with weight loss as well. I speak to a lot of people who've done the highly restrictive diets, and who've lost 50 pounds and then they've gained it all back because it happened too soon, and what they were doing was very restrictive and not sustainable, so they couldn't keep doing it, but also their identity hadn't shifted. It had been too fast a change. All right, so let's get back to reviewing what some of the data says. And then I wanted to bring you the step 4 trials. So step 1 was where they were testing initially. They were testing non-diabetic people who were either BMI of plus 30 or 27 plus with one or more comorbidity. So in step 4, they did exactly the same. They took exactly the same types of people. They tested 800 people this time, and they tested again, they tested the drug against a placebo for 68 weeks. And this time, the people that they gave the drug to, they gave the drug for the first 20 weeks. And then they split that group and they continued some on the drug. And then they gave others a placebo to see what would happen at that point. And what they found was that Ozempic, the drug, actually stopped working when people stopped taking it. And what was more interesting is they didn't just stay at that weight. They didn't just lose the weight and then stay there. All of those people put the weight back on that they had just lost, and then more. And that's a little bit unsettling to me. All right. So just because you might see some results while you're on the drug, it doesn't mean that it's going to continue in future. And it can be setting you up for a worse result if you put more back on. All right. So I wanted to make sure that you are aware of that, because it does sound like, it's this miracle wonder drug that's helping people lose all of this weight, but there are side effects and there are things to consider too, that it's not necessarily going to be a silver bullet solution. It's not just going to last. The weight doesn't just come off and then it stays off. There's a whole heap of things that need to change. You need to be shifting your lifestyle. You need to be shifting your daily habits. You need to be working on all of this at the same time. You need to be making sure that, from an identity perspective, that you stop seeing yourself as the larger person, that as you're losing the weight, you start being able to see yourself as somebody who is, living in a smaller, healthier body. There's a whole heap of things that need to line up with the weight loss that comes. All right. So back to that original question. If you've got any questions, guys, just drop them in there. But back to that original question that we asked: is it right for you? I mean, obviously, this is a decision that you need to be making yourself. And so first, it's not necessarily a cheap solution either. Apparently it's on average about $900 US a month. That was the figure that was quoted that I heard, which, I mean, if you are going to do the work, if you're going to invest in this, make sure that you are going to do all of the lifestyle, the emotional work, the habit change, that you are going to do all of that as well, because that's a huge investment. That's a huge investment that is not necessarily long-term sustainable. So please make sure if you do it that you are working on all of the other things as well. There are side effects, right? You can see results quickly, but there are risks. So it does increase your risk for thyroid cancer, gallbladder disease, pancreatitis, GI issues, constipation, diarrhea, nausea, and also there are as yet unknown cardiovascular side effects as well. Also, the long-term effects are not really known at this point. This drug is so new. We don't know what the long-term effects are as yet. So bear that in mind too. And it is a short-term tactic that doesn't really deal with the real reason, the underlying reason that you might have put on the weight in the first place. So please, if you do decide to invest in this, make sure that you are also getting help working on the reasons why you have put the weight on in the first place. And that includes things like changing your diet, improving the foods that you are eating, moving your body, improving things like your sleep routine, your hydration if you've been dehydrated most of your life, your stress patterns, your stress management. That could be things like reducing alcohol consumption. It could be improving, like working on your self-relationship, your self-love, your self-worth. Improving or working on your relationship with food, rather than seeing food as either good or bad, you're either on a diet or off a diet, how can you settle in to thinking about food as a way to nourish yourself, and that food is just food? Let's stop bumping up the importance of foods that are bad. Let's get rid of that term. It's just food. The more you tell yourself something's bad and I shouldn't have it, the more your brain wants it. If you just tell yourself you're allowed anything that you want to put in your mouth, and you're just going to nourish yourself instead, you're going to feed yourself foods that are wonderful for the health of your body, it just starts to shift that relationship that you have with food. So that you need to work on as well. Work on your mindset, your beliefs, how you see yourself. These things are the long-term solution that will help you make this sustainable, right? It's also going to be really, really important if it turns out there are complications with Ozempic at some point and it's taken off the market. If you haven't shifted all of this other stuff as well, then you're going to be left with the habits that led to the weight gain in the first place. All right, so and let's just look at how it works. Let's just go back to how it works and where there's another sustainable long-term solution for you, because I don't want to just leave you hanging. So Ozempic, how it works is it helps you activate your stretch receptors so that you eat less calories and yet you feel satisfied. Well, there's another very safe, very healthful, and a very sustainable long-term solution to doing this as well. And that is, my friends, as we know, eating whole plants, fiber and water. So by eating whole plants, focusing the majority of what we eat on being whole plants. So if you've got my weight loss guide, which I dropped in the comments of this live, you'll see the traffic light foods. So here I'm talking about all of those green light foods, high in fiber, high in water. Fiber and water is known as bulk. Generic term, but just referred to as bulk. And bulk is what naturally activates those stretch receptors in your gut, which then signals to your brain that you've had enough food and you can stop eating. And as we know, these green light foods, most of them sit below 600 calories per pound. They are the lowest calorie density foods that we have around. So it means that they're not only low in calories, but they're high in fiber and they're high in water. So they can fill your stomach with bulk, which has no calories, and activates those stretch receptors on less calories. You can satisfy your stomach, your stomach and your brain with less calories eating whole plant foods. All right, that is the natural way to help you feel satisfied for longer without needing to put your body at risk. All right, grab a copy of my weight loss guide if you don't have it, guys. It's linked into the copy of this video. All right, make sure you know what I'm talking about. Also, fiber slows down the process of digestion too, so it helps you feel fuller for longer. Fiber is a very complex molecule and it takes a long time for that digestive enzymes to get in there and break it down. So it takes a long time to get through your digestive system, which is what we want. So it helps fill us up on less calories and helps us stay fuller for longer on less calories. And the beauty about eating fiber is we know that it feeds our healthy gut bacteria, which helps lower inflammation, helps speed up our metabolism, helps send healthy signals all around our body, to all of our organs, to our heart, to our brain. It helps our brain calm down so we're less erratic. We experience less anxiety and depression. We're more able to handle stress. We sleep better, so better sleep helps us manage our stress levels better. There's so many benefits to eating whole plant foods that comes without all of the risk that taking pharmaceutical drugs does. All right. So you got two choices. You can activate your stretch receptors by injecting a drug that's expensive and has side effects and is not a long-term solution. Or you can activate your stretch receptors by increasing your plant consumption, focusing on green light foods, increasing the bulk that is going into your body that helps you feel fuller for longer, and also sets you up for health long term as well. Okay, so I'm sure you know which direction I am encouraging you to choose here, all right? But this is your decision. There is no judgment from me, whichever way you choose. I know this is your life, and I know in some situations this may be a lifesaver for some people. So there is absolutely no judgment here from me. So let's just leave that at the door. This is your life and your choice. If you wanted to reach out to me to have a chat about anything that has come up here today, if you wanted to just flesh out a few things, talk about a few situations in your life, and you're trying to make that decision, just feel free to put your hands up or let me know in the comments as well, and I'll reach out to you. But I know that making change in your life can feel overwhelming. It can feel confusing. It can be really hard to know even where to start. It can be hard to know what to eat, what to focus on, what not to eat. And most of us try to make too much change too soon, and it's too overwhelming on the brain. And then we start coming up with all the stories that say, I can't, this is too hard. And we stop ourselves from even making progress here. All right. I have seen many people struggle to achieve results doing what they're doing because they're trying to change too much too soon. All right. Or I've also seen people struggling because they're trying all the things, but there's something that's not quite lining up. They might be whole food plant-based compliant, but not necessarily in a calorie deficit, for example. There's something going on for them that they're blind to see, and that's actually standing in the way of them actually creating success in their life. All right. And that is where this is where coaching is incredibly powerful, all right? Just so you know, it's having somebody guide you through your transformation, not just helping you understand what to do, how to think about food, how to structure your plate, helping you troubleshoot or brainstorm, but it's also helping you to make small and sustainable changes towards your goals. Helping you adopt new habits slowly rather than trying to change everything all at once. We want to find those habits that have either stopped you or prevented you from losing the weight, and find those habits that have led to the weight gain in the first place, and slowly work on adjusting those. And with habit change, there also comes mindset change, how you think about things, how you think about your habits, and why you've adopted them in the first place, and what way were they working for you, and how can we meet that need that you were trying to meet anyway in the first place, but meet it in a healthier way, right? Helping you find healthier solutions to cope with life stresses in the first place, instead of the potentially unhealthy solutions that you've been relying on so far that have led to the weight gain. So it's like having someone that you can turn to for support, who's always there when you need it, someone to reach out to, someone to work through issues with, someone to brainstorm with. I'm not necessarily there to tell you how to do anything, but I can certainly give you guidance, and I'm there to empower you to find what works for you, because it's slightly different for everybody, believe me. So in my plant powered transformation program, I'm not only going to help you slowly adjust your food and your other lifestyle habits, I'm going to help you with a wide range of situations that can actually be the thing standing in the way of you achieving your weight loss, whether that's things like how you interact in social situations, or dealing with other people in your life and what they say, that, like, I know we get a lot of criticisms, or a lot of people are in family situations where they're the only one wanting to take control of their life. And like, how do I deal with all these other people and all these tempting situations in my life when I'm trying to change my life? Or it could be other people's comments as they do it. A lot of people get snarky comments from friends and family when they are, looking to make a change and the family members are not. So how do you deal with situations like that? I help people with emotional eating too, and we look at why and how this has been set up as a tool in your life and how it has been working for you. But how can we shift that and find other ways to soothe your emotions, or to tame your emotions, to be okay with your emotions, instead of using this buffering activity that's got its own set of complications going on. I help you with calming and healing your nervous system, and finding healthier coping solutions for life. I'll help you understand why you've had these patterns in your life. We get to the root cause of it, but we just recognize how it might have worked for you at one stage, but how it's not, how it's impacting your health now. And what we do is we go back to heal some of those old wounds and come up with better coping strategies for you. We do a lot of forgiveness and letting go and having compassion and moving forwards. And that is for yourself as well as for other people. And I'm going to help you create a compelling vision for your future, because a lot of the time we're just sitting in the pain that we're in, and pain is a great motivator to get you to want to take action. But unless you've got this compelling vision of what you want your life to look like, you can just stay stuck in that same pattern of pain, repeating the same patterns over and over and creating the same result for you. So let's get you thinking about another life, the life that you want to be living. And when you can start to see that, guess what? You start moving towards it. But it starts with a conversation, guys, and getting to the heart of why you're struggling. So, for anybody who's new in this group, I do offer a free consult call. I've dropped in my Calendly link into the comments here for anybody who wants to book that time to chat as well. And let's just look at what it is that you are struggling with, and determine how what you're doing at the moment is meeting your needs, but talk about what your roadmap might look like to finding healthier solutions and helping you start to break free of that and starting to achieve the results that you want in your life. So it's not just about the food, guys. Everything that goes on in here drives our emotional state, and our emotional state drives our actions that we are taking. So if we're not taking the actions that we know that will deliver the results, then what's going on in here that's driving a different set of actions? That's what we want to get to the heart of. So my Calendly booking link is in the comments there, or just give me some hands up in the comments if you would like me to reach out to you and have a chat about that. So I hope you got some value out of that. I'm just going to check the comments here. So yeah, Doug, I was really curious to hear your responses. So for anybody watching, Doug made a comment earlier that he had tried Ozempic a couple of times, and I said I'd be really curious to hear his feedback on it. And he said he's had more success with a low-fat, whole-food, plant-based way of eating than with Ozempic. That's really good feedback. Thanks, Doug. I encourage anybody who might be thinking about it, there is a much healthier way to achieve your goals. But if you are still struggling, then likely there's something going on in here that is causing something going on in here that is preventing you from taking the action. It may not be conscious, it may be something that's subconscious, and this is what coaching helps you uncover and work on. All right. It was wonderful seeing you all today. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and welcome to all the wonderful new people in the group. If I haven't messaged you yet, you will be having a message from me very shortly. Okay, guys, wonderful chatting to you. I will see you all next week.